Welcome to the Hookup on Music with your host, Tony Bird.
Welcome, everybody, for joining me tonight on this Friday live edition of the Hookup on Music, episode 87 tonight. And we're going to try to make this more of a regular thing, I think, just because this is something to greatly pump me up before the great At the Show podcast, which will be usually coming at 8:30, but sadly not tonight. So let's talk some music. I'm glad that you decided to join me. It has been a long week, and Friday is a great day just to dig into music. There's always lots of good new music that has come out on Fridays. And then there is always sometimes older music we're going to dig into, live shows that we've been to, other people have been to that we will talk about. But let's get started and see what is on the docket tonight. We've got a lot of good stuff here, starting with some new music that was released. Well, we'll start with today since it's Friday. Not very often have we ever talked about the Jesus Lizard. Okay. The Jesus Lizard, if you're not familiar, were formed in 1987 in Austin, Texas by vocalist David Gilmour. But interesting, they relocated to Chicago, Illinois in 1989. And they were really good friends with Steve Albini, which is pretty awesome. What's even more awesome is their first new album since 1998, Rack, was released today, which is very awesome because I did not have this on my bingo card. When an album or a band usually takes this long to come up with a follow-up since 1998, you're pretty much like, well, is it going to come or what are we expecting? And honestly, so far on the first listen, it's definitely worth what I would say is your time digging into this album, which honestly, Jesus Lizard has, I mean, you go to Liar from 92 or Shot from 1996, definitely excellent albums. And again, a band that all their members have been around since pretty much the beginning. Dwayne Dennison on guitar and David W.M. Sims on bass is definitely a really great, what's the word I'm looking for, mixture of awesome sounds that have been inspired by lots of artists, influencing lots and lots of bands, from everyone from, Wes Borland, Limp Bizkit, all the way to the Get Up Kids, Red Fang, Joe Lally of Fugazi. I mean, you could go on, the list is forever on the influences of Jesus Lizard, but a new album came out today by them. And again, go back and dig through that one. That one seems to be, just listening to it today for the first time, definitely something that I would not have expected to have been released. There is a lot of hooks. It is a hook-driven album, which is honestly really cool. Love my music with awesome hooks, no matter what kind of music it is. But and if you're not familiar with the Jesus Lizard at all, and you don't want to get started on their most recent release, I mean, you could always go back and dig through some of their older stuff too. That's probably what I'm going to do, because honestly, I've heard some here, I've heard some there, but it's been a while. Like, I'm looking into their debut album on Touch and Go, Head, which looks like an interesting affair from 1990, but definitely a band that, for me, seems to be putting out some interesting, awesome new music. So check that out. Let us know what you think if you happen to listen to that new Jesus Lizard. Also, recently, there is a lot of new music here and there. And what we really try to do here is try to dig into a little bit of everything, different genres. A new artist that has came across our switchboard has been Beba Doobie. Beba Doobie. I think I got it. Beba Doobie. I think I got it here. Here is a little bit of her performance. Take a Bite is the name of her song. And honestly, if you are into really awesome vocals and really just a really great background sound, she's going to be performing in Chicago, actually, coming up, the 17th of this month, which seems to be, well, next week. So check that out if you happen to be around, because it seems to be a popular ticket from what I'm seeing. Tickets seem to be more expensive than other bands that you would think would be less expensive. So Aragon Ballroom's a good place to see a show too. Um, I still call it the Aragon Ballroom. We're not going to call it the Byline Aragon Ballroom, but that's okay. Let's continue down the line. Another album that really surprised me with new music was David Gilmour. And David Gilmour is from the great Pink Floyd. This is his fifth solo album, and it surprisingly dropped September 6th. Now, I had heard workings that he has been working on this album for quite a bit of time, but I was not expecting this to drop. And also, what I wasn't expecting is on this new album is his a collaboration with Richard Wright, the great keyboardist of Pink Floyd, who sadly passed away. But on this album, they were able to get together one time and do a little bit of collaborating, which honestly, you're not really expecting David Gilmour to be putting out just such amazing work at this period of in his life. David Gilmour, though, is always really awesome on the guitar. And that's just a little snippet of this brand new album, which honestly, Luck and Strange is the name of the brand new album. And what's cool, too, is David Gilmour's wife, novelist Polly Sampson, she wrote a lot of the lyrics on this, which honestly, I've talked to a couple people and they are very much impressed with David Gilmour's new solo album. Other stuff that he has released solo, apart from Pink Floyd, has been equally as awesome. And honestly, this is no exception to being, I think, another just a great piece of work from David Gilmour. Just a lot of other people are on this album too, which is really cool. His some of his children are working with him on this album, which is really cool. But Steve Gadd does drums and percussion on some of this album, and you may be like, well, who is he? He has worked with such just awesome players as Chick Corea, and honestly was on Steely Dan's Asia, just a really great player. Late in the Evening, if you're familiar with that Paul Simon song, but just a really excellent drummer. But when you're getting players like that to play on your newest album and you're still putting out quality work, I definitely would dig into this. Of course, a lot of people, including himself, feels that this is his best work since Dark Side of the Moon. We've talked about that before on the show. Sometimes artists say, this is my best work since the last, greatest piece of work that some people remember, even though I personally feel like there's been lots of more great work from David since then. I mean, even the Division Bell from 1994, I've been digging deeper into that album, which is a great late era Pink Floyd album. But David Gilmour is interested in just what's the word I'm looking for? He is interested in putting on just a really good musician album, and that's what he's done here. And he's also, which I give him a lot of credit for, has stated that if you're going to be seeing him live, don't expect the hits, which honestly, I mean, a lot of artists, especially those who are playing what's the word I'm looking for, into their later era, seems to be not. But then you all of a sudden, I've looked up something that like he played in September 6th, and honestly, he did a couple of the songs that you would think would be more of the popular Pink Floyd tune. So, you just never know. If he happens to come around your area and play, I would definitely check out that show, because this new solo album is really good. The promotion from it is really awesome. Anton Corbijn had done the album cover, and you may not be familiar with his work by his name, but Heart-Shaped Box by Nirvana, Enjoy the Silence by Depeche Mode, just a really great a filmmaker, a great artist. does a really, really good job in a movie he directed about Joy Division, Control. If you get a chance to please check that out, that's really cool. But again, if you're looking for something and you're looking for an artist who has been around for a long time, putting out really quality work, I would check out this David Gilmour album. Also, some albums that I have yet to dig into this week that have been released. Snow Patrol's got a brand new album. Um, Talib Kweli's got a brand new album. My buddy just dropped a really, really awesome. Just checked out the first track, but he dropped a brand new LL Cool J album, The Force. You a fan of LL Cool J? You think he is one of the greatest of all time? Well, this album really is, from just the first song and from his description, is he's one of his all-time favorites. And what's also great about this brand new album is Q-Tip of A Tribe Called Quest did the production, which is honestly not something that you're expecting again by another late artist, especially in the hip hop category. Putting out really, really, really quality work. Just to get off topic here before we get back on the track, recently, speaking of really, really awesome artists, Cypress Hill has been just spinning a lot in my head. Yesterday, while I was cutting the lawn, I decided to, you know what I'm going to put on here? I'm going to put on their debut album, the self-titled one, which great songs like Hands on the Pump, Pigs, Latin Lingo, just really How I Could Just Kill a Man, which also Rage Against the Machine did a really, really, really great job. But again, Cypress Hill is another one that honestly, if you're cutting the lawn, it really was actually awesome to be listening to that. And honestly, Illusions is also a great song off their third album, Temple of Boom, which is a really, really, really great, another great album. Actually, it's Cypress Hill 3 Temples of Boom. Don't want to get that wrong. But again, some really awesome new music there and a little something older that we've been spinning. But let's move on here. I don't know if you have gotten the opportunity, or you have seen, or you have heard, but obviously last week we had alluded that Linkin Park had a brand new singer that was joining the fold. You know, being I call myself a semi fan of Linkin Park. I mean, in the recent years, I don't really think I've listened to them too much, but honestly, some of the songs that I've heard and I haven't heard in a while, you can go back and you can say, I appreciate this. I appreciate what the band was doing. But they decided to get back together after the sad passing of Chester Bennington. And I was talking about last week about rumors of who could possibly be the singer. I think I even mentioned the singer from Sum 41 could possibly be the singer. But I was way wrong on who they picked. They picked Emily Armstrong, okay, a co-founder of the band Dead Sarah. I don't know if you've heard some of the live stuff that they did. It doesn't sound terrible, but unfortunately, when you are joining a new band, you don't want to start out of the gates with drama. And sadly, there has been some drama to start, like, well, Chester's son being very upset that this is who they picked. Also, the fact that I guess she has made some just some things that I guess have rubbed people the wrong way about, well, many different things in her personal life, like supporting that one fella from that 70s show who was not very, very nice. I think you could fill in the blanks on who that was. But then again, this is what Linkin Park's decided to do to move forward. Also, in the meanwhile, while moving forward, members are not a part of this. Rob Bourdon, drummer, who has been around since, well, the very beginning, has decided he doesn't want to take part of this, and he just kind of wants to push himself back a little bit, which honestly, that might be a good idea by what I'm seeing, not by what I'm hearing, because it doesn't sound terrible. But again, you don't want to start off with a brand new incarnation with, getting people upset or getting people worked up. But, maybe they know something I don't know. Guitarist, also very interesting, which I found very, 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 very interesting, is Brad Delson is going to be a part of the band, but he's not going to be touring with the band. I have also have a problem with artists who are part of the band, but they're not going to tour with the band. So, like, to me, I like my members touring together and playing on stage, but he's decided to sit out. So they got touring players. They also got a new drummer who is a producer. I don't know what's going on. The new song that they released, it's kind of catchy. At first, I kind of made some faces, but maybe it'll catch on with you. Check it out. Let us know what you think on that front. But yes, they are back together. Um, Another artist who probably in the last 15 years have I really been digging a little bit deeper in, and that is and digging a little deeper in, like, every week, just a little bit more and more. What can I find? Live performances, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that is the band The Smiths, who were formed in Manchester, England in 1982 with Morrissey on vocals, Johnny Marr on guitar, Andy Rourke on bass, and Mike Joyce on drums. Um, Honestly, another band that, in the whole mix of all of the sounds that were going on in the 80s, they definitely had a sound that stuck out as their own. As time has seemed to have gone on, I seem to see more and more people being exposed to the Smiths. I mean, when you think, let's say U2, you can't say that, the Smiths I don't think that they've sold as many records as U2, but you can't say that they have not made maybe even more of an impact like a band than U2. Not to say that U2 has not made an impact, but a band like the Smiths, you go across many, many, many different musical genres, and you're going to find a lot of people who are have been well smitten by their what they have done. And for a band that only came out with 4 albums, okay, 1984's The Smiths, 1985's Meat is Murder, which I always thought was a very interesting album title. The Queen is Dead in 86, and Strange Ways, Here We Come. You would think that they just had lots and lots and lots and lots of albums. But again, we have talked about here on the show multiple times the number of albums you have, or the amount of years you are around as a band, has no dictation to what you are capable of, or aka leaving behind, because the band was only around 5 years, 82 to 87. Okay. And then Morrissey, Johnny Marr, they all go off and do their own thing. Sadly, there was lawsuits involving the bass and the drummer. And I think that kind of soured the whole thing from ever getting back together. But Johnny Marr's guitar is, some of the great guitar that you will, hear in this time period. It's got a sound that is it's very bouncy. It's a very bouncy, jangly guitar sound that is familiar in maybe some other artists around this time, but it's really cool because he has also played with so many different artists since being in, he's played with Modest Mouse. He's played a little bit with Brian Ferry. Just a really, really, again, artist who never stopped after that 87 disillusion of the band. But when you're digging into their albums, you know, always look. I myself, I can listen to something quite a lot, and then I can listen to it like a 50th time and still hear something that I might have missed. And while doing prep for the show on The Queen is Dead, if you get a chance and you go and listen to Big Mouth Strikes Again, I'm sure if you are a fan or you have listened to The Smiths, that song, definitely there is something that is going on in the underground of the rhythm of the drums and the bass that I think is something that, again, is very different for the time period. A lot of artists in the 80s, as we are well aware, were just pounding out lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of heavy synth, like really heavy, where it was like almost over dominant, where you couldn't hear the guitar. The Smiths did not really fall into that category because, for many reasons, they didn't need to do that because they were just really good at playing their instruments. And with Morrissey at the lead vocal helm, never struggled in that department. Morrissey still huge huge touring, still tours a lot, sometimes doesn't show up to the gigs. But overall, it's cool that he still just is putting out music just like Johnny Marr is. And a lot of excellent, huge solo career that is honestly when you're saying to yourself that, you know, you have 15 solo albums and the band that really made your name only has four. I find that always very awesome and interesting. But the purpose for digging into anything that we're talking about here tonight is just to always look a little bit deeper. And even if I always miss something, or because I'm always on the hunt, nothing is ever finite here where we can look a little bit deeper, which is what I'm going to continue to do with the Smiths. What I like to do here on the show is create kind of like a juxtaposition. You go from one kind of sounding band, like we talked about David Gilmour, we talked about the Jesus Lizard, you talk about the Smiths, and then you go into something, a little bit further back in the 70s that is Cheap Trick, which honestly is another band that you may think one thing of these guys. You may think they are just the band that does Surrender. But honestly, they are a lot more really honestly respected, especially in that 70s realm of being just a great live band. You may hear some of their studio stuff. You're probably familiar with it, but if you've ever turned on the radio and you haven't heard I Want You to Want Me, and it's the live version, and you hear all the screaming in the background, well, then you could definitely tell that people really enjoyed Cheap Trick. And honestly, another band still touring. Sadly, only three of the four original members are in the band. We've talked on here before about drummer Bunny Carlos, who sadly is no longer playing with them. But again, a band that if you are looking for just straight up hard rock, you're looking for something really hard and heavy, and you're in a fan of the more of the they really do a good job. And honestly, when I got to dig a little bit deeper into some of these albums of theirs, like on Dream Police, they have this track Gonna Raise Hell. It's 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Listen to that song. And then also listen to Way of the World, which is on that album. You could even go back deeper into some of their deeper albums and really hear some of the different stuff that they were doing. Also very interesting is that there was like almost two different sets of guys in the band. If you happen to be watching online, that was always kind of like the inside joke of the band, is that like two of the guys were on the front cover, the two better looking guys, and the two guys who they thought weren't the better looking were on the back. But music being what is important, that was always at the forefront. And honestly, great musicianship all around for Cheap Trick. Again, I remember in the late 90s, they came to Metro and they did multiple shows in a row, and every show was a different album of theirs. And they was actually one of the first times I ever remember an artist coming to town and just playing strictly a full album. So which is now become the norm. I mean, just so many artists and bands are coming to town and playing one whole specific album. Playing one whole album is awesome, but if you're a band like Cheap Trick who's got lots and lots of albums, I'm pretty sure you may miss out on some of the other songs. Green Day just recently came to town and they did two of their albums, but they got over 9. So it's like, well, the other songs they played, you might have missed a couple. Being a big thing now is playing full albums, which could be really cool. It could also really be a pain. But when Cheap Trick did it, I thought it was a little bit better, because what they did was, because they're from Rockford, they were able to just go, okay, you know what we're going to do is we're just going to rent this arena here, not arena, this small club, the Metro in Chicago, and just pound out a couple of our albums on consecutive nights and then mix in hits with those albums, which is always great. I've talked about numerous times before. I don't know if I've talked about it on the show, but being very young, my father brought home a Robin Zander tape, who happens to be the lead vocalist of Cheap Trick. And I was just blown away when I found out that Robin Zander was actually the singer of Cheap Trick. Just cool little things that you figure out and find out. Um, Speaking of juxtaposition, and another band that starts with a C, the Cranberries. Whenever I hear this song, whenever I hear the Cranberries, actually, it brings me back to, again, another time period, which was around 96, when movie theaters, they never used to have the screens and have the what's called the previews playing on it before the actual previews really started. What they would have was they would just have the music playing over the speakers. And that's kind of where I remember hearing quite a lot of Cranberries to get started. And then after that, of that first album with Linger and Dreams and all of that, then came Zombie. And honestly, I had a friend who was into heavy metal, and he said to me, I'm going to buy this album because I bet the whole album is going to be heavy like Zombie. And well, sadly, there was some disappointment because it was not as heavy as the whole album. Zombie, though, great song. Just a very, very interesting story, and also a kind of a sad story because, again, um, Dolores O'Riordan passed away back in 2018 at the age of 46. And you think to yourself, how much more music could have been really left on the table? I don't know if you have. If you have not, it's really, really worth digging into. To be fair, is their last studio album, which I was not expecting, but it came out actually after she passed away. It was called In the End. Just a really, 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 really good little album put together after her passing. But honestly, really, really great band, really, really great vocals. Now, this is what I call juxtaposition. The vocals of the Cranberries are direct opposite of the vocals of one Megadeth. I mean, Megadeth just came to town. I think it was a week from this past Tuesday, and did they put on a show? I mean, we've talked about Megadeth the last time they were in town, and honestly, Megadeth never disappoints quite at all. And this is back on the 3rd, so about a week ago. But for me, of course, they played the track that I just played there, Peace Sells, but Who's Buying? But this concert that they put on, really, really, really amazing. Countdown to Extinction, 4 tracks, Skin on My Teeth. What I like better than this than the last time I seen these guys was they played 17 songs. The last time I seen them, they were opening up for Five Finger Death Punch. Ugh. But here they were playing just really a lot of some good deep tracks from The World Needs a Hero. They played The Dread and The Fugitive Mind. Cryptic Writing, She-Wolf, awesome. You got to play Trust too. Rest in Peace, Tornado of Souls. My favorite was Mechanics. You got to play Mechanics. But again, Megadeth are still really putting on a great show, and Mudvayne opened up for them. Death Blooms, always enjoy when I hear Death Blooms. But again, band still, I think, putting out pretty high octane, just like Metallica. We've talked about this before. A really, 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 really great performance. Recently, Pantera came to town with Metallica, and they played live. Of course, it wasn't really kind of like Pantera. It was kind of like Pantera, not like Pantera, because it was Zach, who's awesome, and Charlie Benante, who is one of my favorites. But if you're looking to get a little bit more back to who Pantera was originally when they were around, this live album here is something to honestly is something that is still being played regularly in my CD player. An album that came out in 97. Okay. What I liked about this album is they had 14 live tracks. I mean, the best of the best of the best of the live stuff of Pantera. And then 2 really good studio recordings in Where You Come From and I Can't Hide. But but they were really, 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 really on fire on this album. And honestly, digging through this one again, a buddy of mine had a live what's that? He had a live album of it on vinyl recently, and it had been just such a long time since I listened to it. But hearing some of these tracks and then listening to how they sounded at Soldier Field or some of the other stuff, it's cool to go back and listen to the Sandblasted Skin, Strength Beyond Strength. Okay, starting off the album, A New Level. Go back and check that out. That's not going to ever get old, is listening to some of that original Pantera. Kendrick Lamar, very, very awesome if you have not heard the news, but he is going to be headlining the Super Bowl this year, which is honestly, it's pretty cool. I will take anytime a new artist, but that's the way I am. I seen recently that Lil Wayne felt snubbed that he didn't get asked to be in the Super Bowl. I could be wrong, but I think Lil Wayne might be not quite at the level as where Kendrick Lamar is, but I could be wrong about that too. You know, who am I? What do I know? What I do know is that coming up this next week, Sepultura is coming to town. If you have not gotten your tickets yet to that, that might definitely be a show worth going to, because it's going to be the last time Sepultura comes to Chicago, because they are sadly wrapping up. And that's the 17th. So that's actually, again, 4 days away, which is sad because, well, I love Sepultura and I've always loved Sepultura, but Sepultura has decided to call it a day, which, well, go check that show out and maybe we'll see each other there. Also, if you've never listened to Robin Trower at all, or Bridge of Sighs, a really great album from the 70s, really, 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 really great stuff. Like some of the deeper cuts on this album, but title track, put that on and listen to it really loud. Also, I had to show you this. I love these old pullouts. You know, I got this old Earth, Wind, and Fire. I think I want to hang this up in the background right here. If you're watching online, the inserts here of this Earth, Wind, and Fire album are amazing. You know what, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know it was Friday night, and I know there's a lot of different things that, well, we're going to be doing after we just spent here talking music, which was great. I am glad that you spent it with me and we got to talk some music. Like I said, going forward, I think we will be going live on Fridays at 7 p.m. We're going to have a really awesome mixture of kind of what we did tonight. We were going to have a lot of guests, returning guests, new guests. We're going to have some band members. We're going to have a whole lot of different stuff. Just tonight wanted to promote it in a brand new, different way. I'm glad. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I also want to say that usually at this time, I'm also going to ask you to please stay tuned at 8:30 for the At the Show podcast, which will be returning next week with my main man Yumper. And we got some really, really awesome stuff planned for you next week, including soundtracks, which lately I've been getting to a lot of soundtracks on there. The PCU soundtrack, which immediately I start thinking of George Clinton, because he's amazing in that movie and on the soundtrack. But stay tuned for that. Also stay tuned. We are right around the corner in October. We've got some really, really, really cool stuff planned. If you have not seen this yet, check this out real quick here before we take off.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Be my victim.
Fuck you!
Welcome to Bright Night.
It's over, Michael. Time to join the club.
Oh man, now I'm feeling like I have to watch Lost Boys tonight. But please, my main man Yumper is putting his main work into this stuff, and us in general here at the Sadistic Penguin Studios. Halloween is like tip-top time. We've got a lot of cool, we got some really cool sweatshirts to look out for. Just really awesome stuff. But thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Look out this week also for the It's Getting Drafty. It's going to be a really, really good time on Tuesday night. Thank you again so much for spending time tonight with us. We will definitely talk again next Friday and see what will be crossing our paths musically. I've always wanted to play this at the end of one of my shows. All right, everyone. Well, there you go. It kind of worked there, but not. But everyone else out there, take care. My name is Tony. This is the Hookup on Music. We really hope you enjoyed yourself. We will see each other soon. And by soon, that will be next Friday at 7 p.m. So everyone out there, take care and have a really good night.
Thank you for listening. Please look out for the audio version wherever you jam.